Good evening. This is a meeting of the Tinton Falls Borough Council being held February 6th, 2024. This meeting is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board at Borough Hall and by notification to the Asbury Park Press, the Newark Star Ledger, and the New Coaster at least 48 hours prior to the meeting and filing with the clerk, all on December 19th, 2023.
Thank you. May I ask the clerk to call the roll?
Ms. Buckley?
Here.
Dr. Dobrin?
Here.
Mr. Manginelli?
Here.
Mr. Nessie?
Here.
Mrs. Clay?
Here. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There is one set of meeting minutes for approval. May I have a motion to approve the January 2nd, 2024 reorganization meeting minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes. Next, we will move on to reports. I'd like to start with our borough engineer, Mr. Neff.
Just real quick reminder that the contractor at Sycamore Softball Fields has started mobilizing their equipment and materials out there, so just be aware if you're out at the park. Everything should be safe and operational, but just be aware of the construction activity that's going to be taking place out there. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Neff. Mr. Fallon, our CFO.
Thank you, Council President. I have no report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tarafanko, our business administrator.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to commend the police department. They had Operation Lunch Break where they were collecting food, which was very successful. That was on January 29th as part of our outreach efforts. Last week they had an event with Alex Mann, and for those of you that don't know who Alex Mann is, he's a man that suffers from autism, and he goes to police departments countrywide to spread awareness to police officers on how to deal with persons that do have autism. So that was last week. It was a very, very successful event as well. March 6, 2024, they have Jump with a Cop as part of their community engagement coming up. And from the January 31st, Captain Kyle Pearson retired, so we want to congratulate him on his retirement and wish him best in his future endeavors. And from the Recreation Department, we just have the Daughters Dance, which is March 10th at 2:30. And finally, I just want to commend the DPW men and women for their response to the most recent storms, to include the last two snowstorms. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tarafanko. Mr. Starkey, our Director of Law.
Yes, there are two items on the agenda I wanted to speak about tonight. The first is Resolution 23-030, and this is a resolution that's going to create an advisory committee to determine and report on the progress in managing the odors from the Monmouth County Reclamation Center. What this committee will be is it will consist of two members of the Borough Council. That will be Council President Clay and Councilman Manginelli. It will be three residents who live in the affected area. Those residents have not yet been chosen, but that will be up to Councilwoman Clay and Councilman Manginelli to select people who are living there and are interested in being involved, and to report back to the council on that. What this committee is going to do is it's going to meet with county officials, officials from Waste Management who operate the landfill, and representatives of the County Health Department. The representatives of those organizations have already agreed to meet with the committee to give them information what's going on, to answer questions, and the committee will then monitor the progress. Waste Management said there's a 90-day plan to address the odor issue. They'll stay on top of that, make sure that that's being complied with. and they'll report back to the council and to members of the public with their determinations, whether this, Waste Management is doing what they're supposed to be doing or not, and what we can do to deal with that. So that committee is just being formed, subject to the council's approval tonight, and then they'll be off and running. The second issue I wanted to comment on is there is ordinance on for tonight. It is on for first reading. It is ordinance number 2024-1510. That ordinance is really recodifying part of the Borough Code to properly list the properties in town that are subject to Title 39 jurisdiction. What that means is there are a lot of properties, usually they're shopping centers, there are residential communities that have private roadways that are not owned by the town, by the borough. But they are subject to police jurisdiction, police patrolling by virtue of this ordinance. Title 39 jurisdiction means the police can go in there. They can patrol, they can write tickets, they can do things which ordinarily they can't do on private property in the absence of an emergency, but this authorizes them to do it, and it lists in the ordinance all of the properties in town where they can do that. So it's important. There was a list before, it's kind of hodgepodge. It wasn't complete. We didn't have everything in one section, so it's sort of just recodifying, put it all in one section so everybody knows, and importantly, the police know where they're authorized to go. The last thing I want to report on is the status of the EMS that was discussed at the last meeting. I think if anyone who's here at the last meeting knows that the county has started up, as of yesterday, a paid EMS division that's run by the county. It's paid for by the county taxpayers, and they are starting off in Tinton Falls and two other towns that are nearby. They are going to work with our volunteers. What's going to happen is the county is going to have primary response time when, usually during the day when the volunteers can't cover it. The volunteers, to the extent they have crews on, will be primary during nights that the volunteers select. Those will usually be nighttime duties. The county will be a backup for them during that time frame. County will always be a backup in the event of the volunteers can't cover or there's some kind of mass, larger casualty that requires multiple responses. We are in the process of setting forth an agreement. It's going to be a short agreement with the county, which is probably a couple pages, to outline what I just said, what the county's role is going to be. But the county has assured us that whatever the needs of Tinton Falls are for EMS, they will be in a position to cover, but they also want to work with the volunteer EMS squads to make sure that as much as they want, volunteers want, the county would like to have that happen as well. So that is the status of, as I said, the county started yesterday morning. So you'll see probably some of them, the rigs coming around with county EMS on it, and that's what they're doing. They're covering Tinton Falls during the daytime. That is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Starkey. Ms. Hutchinson, our clerk.
I have no report this evening, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Moving on to council reports. Councilwoman Buckley.
Yes, thank you, Council President Clay. I just have a quick question on the county EMS. Where are they operating out of our EMS buildings, or where do they service from, or is it different places?
Right now, they're operating both out of their Center and Freehold and out of EMS South location.
Okay.
And I know they're in the process of negotiating for the Conval firehouse. I think that's not yet up and running, but I think they anticipate that'll be up and running soon.
Okay, thank you. Just for my report, as far as the Environmental Commission and Green Team, we have some members here this evening who will be speaking later. So the Environmental Commission and Green Team held a meeting, their last meeting on January 25th. Prior to that, we had received an email from Sustainable Jersey. As you may recall, Tinton Falls was awarded bronze certification for the first time this past November, as well as Rookie of the Year, which was quite prestigious. There are only 2 towns who got that in all of New Jersey. So they sent us an email, basically. So Sustainable Jersey offers grants every year. And so this is a prime opportunity for us to apply for a grant, and their email sort of indicated that they favor towns who have just received certification and ones like ours. The grants, like most grants, have to be used for a specific purpose. This grant is duly funded by PSE&G and Sustainable Jersey. And the Environmental Commission wants to apply for the maximum, which is $20,000, to be used towards what we call a natural resource inventory, otherwise known as an environmental resource inventory. The team will talk a little bit more about it. The reason we bring it now is because the initial grant application is actually due on Friday. This is a very short window. So what it is, if people aren't familiar, is it's a document that becomes an addendum to the master plan that can be utilized by all the boards and commissions, that really lays out factually all of the natural resources we have in our town. It does cost some money because there's usually some consultants that are needed to be involved. Part of the process is putting together sort of a draft budget, which includes in-kind donations. So the reason they're going to bring it tonight is because eventually by March 15th, they'll need like a resolution of support from the council to proceed with the grant application. And then should we be awarded the grant application, it would be utilized to produce this ERI-NRI. So I'll let the team talk more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Buckley. Dr. Dobrin.
Yes, thank you. The Tinton Falls Library Association Board of Trustees met this past Thursday night, February 1st. And of course, many of the trustees are here tonight as well, the Board of Trustees. And they're making plans basically for moving forward once the construction phase of the library building is complete, and that should be complete by the end of February, if I'm not mistaken, Tom.
That's what we're hoping for.
Great. We certainly hope for it. So this year, the successful fashion show will be taking a break. It was very successful, and I know Ellen's here tonight, so she may want to speak on that. But as far as the music festival, that will be occurring this coming August. And I don't know that we have a specific date, but it's forthcoming, so you'll be hearing about that. There's a lot of work that has to be done on preparing the library's opening, and I have to say that the Board of Trustees, being there this Thursday night, they're very diligent, hardworking, and I know they're going to get this thing completed so that we can have this opening this spring. So we're looking forward to that. And I'll keep you posted, as well as the Board of Trustees. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. That's exciting news.
Yes, very.
Moving on, Mr. Manginelli.
Yes, Council President, is this an appropriate time for me to elaborate on what Mr. Starkey has addressed in terms of the Ellen?
Yes, of course.
Okay, let me elaborate a little on this. Get rid of the stink committee is what I wanted to call it, but we renamed it.
That's true.
Landfill Monitoring Committee. I'm not going to answer any questions about it until we finish we establish the committee. But the purpose of it is to monitor what WMI is doing, how complaints are being handled, how they're being adjudicated, but the objective is to get rid of the stink, and it can be done. It can be done. There are organizations that do it. We just got to find the right one. We've already have 2 residents have agreed to join. The Department of Health has agreed to join. A representative from WMI has agreed to join. So we got the right people in place. I haven't organized the timetable on when it will start. I hope it starts soon. It'll be a monthly meeting, and principally to monitor the progress that WMI is making. At this point, I'd like to table any further discussion on the stink until this committee is established. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Manginelli. Councilman Messi.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, I have a few things. Last Wednesday, Planning Board listened to 2 applications. The first application approved by the board was for a medical and professional building located along Newman Springs Road on an underdeveloped lot. 3 residents who boarded the property attended the meeting and asked several great questions that were all answered by the applicant, ultimately having no objection to the applicant's project. The second application approved by the board included the development of a wine outlet store located in the Uncle Giuseppe's parking lot, where the Sonic has been demolished. Moving on to chickens. Keeping Backyard Chickens class provided by Monmouth County Parks is scheduled for 10 a.m. to 12 on Saturday, March 2nd at Long Street Farm in Homedale. You must register to attend. The registration is open to anyone regardless of residency, but the county did not promote the class, so you have to kind of fish around on the website to register on monmouthcountyparks.com. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. In terms of my report, I wanted to report out on the Board of Education meeting of January 25th. January was actually Board of Ed Member Recognition Month. So I'd like to extend our thanks to our K-8 board members, along with our Monmouth Regional Board members. Mr. Cohen, our Monmouth Regional Board President, happens to be here this evening. In addition, I got to view a wonderful presentation on social emotional learning that was done with the guidance counselor of Swimming River, Ms. Buck, and the special education supervisor, Mrs. Walsifer, two teachers, Mr. Otto and Ms. Bradshaw, and some amazing kids from Swimming River School. So that was an outstanding meeting. Anytime you get to see kids at a Board of Ed meeting, it's really a good night. I would also like to extend my congratulations to Captain Pearson on his retirement. And in addition, I'd like to share that we have established a date for our annual Community Day. It will be October 5th with a rain date of October 6th. And that concludes my report. Okay, moving on to ordinances for introduction. There is one ordinance on for introduction this evening. I'd like to remind the public that when an ordinance is introduced, there is no public discussion. The public discussion for the following ordinance will take place when it is up for final consideration. With that, may I ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance?
2024-1510, an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Part 3 of the Borough Code to delete and replace the list of private properties subject to Title 39 jurisdiction in the borough. The public hearing will be held on February 20th, 2024, or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached on the agenda.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the introduction of this ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
And may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes. At this time, there's one ordinance for final consideration. We will hold a public hearing with comments being limited to 3 minutes. Comments may only pertain to this ordinance. And may I ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance?
2024-1509, an ordinance setting salaries for department heads, statutory employees, mayor, and council.
Thank you. May I have a motion to open the public discussion on this ordinance?
Motion.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment? Please remember to state your name and address for the record. Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So
Motion.
moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any council members that would like to comment on this ordinance? May I have a motion for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes. Moving on to public discussion. May I have a motion to open the public discussion?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is the time the public may comment on any topic of their choice. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. At this time, I would like to ask the clerk if any public comments were submitted prior to this meeting via email.
There were none.
Thank you. Okay, public comments.
Hello, my name's Andrew Thurston from 44 Austin Street. I did come here to speak about the Reclamation Center. I understand that you've asked to table that till the committee has been created, so I understand I may not receive answers at this time, but I do feel responsible to issue my concerns and what we're going through as a family with this dump. So my wife and I moved here in 2021 because of the town that this town is. The one thing that we had of concern when we came here was, of course, the landfill gas. We were comforted with the information that we researched to think that that was addressed and was not going to be an issue within our time as we created a family here. We did get married last year. We had not experienced any issues with this. And now that it is time for us to come and create a family and start to have kids, we're now looking at a situation where the landfill gas is back and affecting us on a regular basis. We came to the meeting on 116, excuse me, with the expectation and the hope that we would be comforted, that the problems that were in place were going to be resolved, and that the health of our family was not going to be in jeopardy. When we left the meeting, we had more concerns than when we walked into the meeting. At no point during that meeting did Waste Management address the specific gases that we were inhaling. They did not reflect how much of it we were inhaling, and most importantly, they did not implement or indicate the health impact of those gases that we were inhaling, both those that contain an odor and the odorless gases that would go along with the odor gases that we can smell. We were given the opportunity to report to the DEP. That was what we were told as a citizen we could do to make a difference. We have done that twice since the 116 meeting, and I can tell you that the response that we received was frankly insulting. The first time that we asked, they called my wife back. They got her name completely wrong, and when she wasn't sure who it was calling because they got her name wrong, they closed the investigation on the spot. The second time was last week. We called at 11 o'clock because this thing had become so strong outside that it had infiltrated and completely overwhelmed our house. We continued to call, and everyone that they asked us to call through the night, a representative came out at 1 a.m. in the morning. We stayed up. We made sure we were doing our part. When they came to our doorstep, they told us they smelled nothing and that we just needed to go to bed and deal with it. They told us it was insulting. I mean, to think that we stayed up in the middle of the night to try to make a difference, to try to do what we were told to do, and there was no measurable analysis. There was simply someone saying their subjective opinion that they couldn't smell anything, and then it was closed. The biggest concern we have here is we don't know the health impacts of this, and so we have to go every day trying to figure out what our next step is. I'm not comfortable bringing our new child into this world in a town where I don't know what I'm inhaling. And so we need answers on that, and we need answers from this committee that not only are they doing what they say they're going to do, but that it is effective as well. Because the improvements that they made in 2018 have not, to me, demonstrated any improvements to the conditions. The charts that they presented last meeting with the rainfall indicated that we have simply not experienced rainfall near the levels that would lead to this gas being an issue. So I have no confidence that the improvements they made during the last go-around with this have actually made change, and rather I feel that we've simply gotten lucky with rainfall levels. We need that confidence that they're going to take action, but also that that action is going to be effective, and between now and then and in the future, we need to know what the impact is on our health, because we don't have that right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to,
Sir, you've just explained why this committee is being formed. It is the first time in the 10 years that I'm sitting on this council that the council is taking an active participation in getting this resolved, and we will get it resolved. I wish I could flick a switch and the stink go away, but it isn't going to happen that way. It's going to take a lot of investigation, but we will get it resolved. I promise you that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Manginelli. Mr. Thurston, I also wanted to add that he agreed that we need more, and we are also, as Mr. Manginelli stated, also not satisfied with what has not transpired. And that's the reason that we're moving forward with this committee. We hear you loud and clear.
I appreciate that, and I'm glad to see that this committee is going forward, and I just want to reiterate, it's more than just that things are, that what the actions they say need to be done, get done. They need to be effective. They need to fix any health concerns, and all that information needs to be communicated to us. And I think there also needs to be an open-ended side of this, that if we, go through this committee and we see what they do and it's not fixing it well enough, then we need the confidence as citizens from the town that other actions will be taken to move away from waste management into alternative solutions when available. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ellen Goldberg, 90 Glenwood Drive. Probably all have it memorized by now. So a couple things. First of all, I am the newly appointed Environmental Commission chairperson. I have been a resident here for 35 years this month. I have volunteered in many capacities in this town, from the time my children went to school, PTA, PTSA. I've been on the Environmental Commission for 20 years. I ran for mayor 2 years ago. Obviously, very, very invested in the town of Tinton Falls. Very committed to this town. So, before I begin, I want to say it's my pleasure to address all of you, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about this. So our proposal from the Environmental Commission is that we want to create this environmental resource inventory report. Our purpose is to share our hopes and plans with you. Have any of you heard of an ERI before tonight? Okay. So sometimes it's called, as Councilwoman Buckley said, natural resource inventory. Basically, it's the same thing. We are asking Tinton Falls to move forward with this because we currently do not have this report. The last one that was done was in 1975, and the report is not in existence. No one seems to be able to know where it is, and it would be outdated anyway. We are, as was previously stated, applying for a Sustainable Jersey grant for $20,000 for us to accomplish this goal. We are also applying for an additional $2,000 grant. We are here to ask the support of the council in our efforts so that we can discuss what work needs to be done. I will skip what an ERI is because Councilwoman Buckley already told us. The data is specifically designed by an environmental and technical expert for our town. In addition to factual information, the data will be contextualized, so it tells us what is important about the data that we view. Think about when you go to the doctor and you get your blood work done. You need the doctor to explain the important parts of the data. The ERI would do that. Further, the ERI would be shaped to our priorities. The input from Tinton Falls Borough Board members, council members, and government officials, and also the town people. We are planning community engagement events to bring the public into the process. The public would be invited to share what they might want to know about their town or any concerns that they might have. Both Tinton Falls Borough people and Tinton Falls residents would also be invited to collaborate on the evaluation of the ERI before it's completed. This will give us a chance to determine any clarifications that might be needed, any explanatory narratives that might be added, and any additional areas of concern that may not have been included. The final ERI would be a finished publication of many pages, possibly around 200, based on what other towns have. This ERI would be of extraordinary value, as it would be a comprehensive look at our town, giving us both foresight and depth of field by the various forms of data. In addition, it would also serve us as we become very familiar with it and consistently use it for reference. Possible applications would be used in land use planning, site plan review, determination of zoning regulations, and municipal ordinances. The ERI can also be used as an indicator of sensitive areas that need protection. The ERI can be used to educate Tinton Falls residents about their community and natural resources. The ERI can be used to get ahead of problems, thereby saving many dollars by avoiding future problems and mitigation costs. So some of the financial investment of creating an ERI comes right back to us. The ERI can be a tool for making decisions about the placement of infrastructure, roads, sewers, schools, etc. For example, Long Branch is using their new 2023 ERI GIS-based maps to meet the new MS4 certification requirement for sewers, for their sewers. The difficulty of being an effective environmental commission is that we really need to look ahead. If we're going to be an effective commission, we need to see the problems and the possibilities so that we can advise the Borough Council well for any environmental concerns. The ERI would assist in staying ahead of whatever may come along. Without ordinances, Tinton Falls could become a target for developers or for county or state level changes that are beyond our control. We need to look ahead to know which ordinances are needed, and that would be better done with an ERI. Without a comprehensive view of our town, providing excellent advice to our boards and government on environmental issues becomes pretty impossible. Once a proposal is submitted, the opportunity to create protections for Tinton Falls is over. We have to be able to look ahead, and the ERI gives us that potential. Even if environmental commissioners go another step to get an updated copy of a map or chart or whatever, having the set of borough data that an ERI provides is invaluable. This is probably especially true in our town because it borders and incorporates such a variety of land areas. Tinton Falls is becoming much more complex. As the Environmental Commission, we need to have a broad perspective of our town. We need to see ahead and need to do that today. For example, we know ordinances need to be in place before builder plans are submitted. We need to be proactive, not reactive. If other towns are spending money to create ERIs so they can make strong protective ordinances against our plans, any plans that might put the wellness of their town at risk, then we better do it too. Otherwise, we will not have the structure and support we need when new things come up. If additional warehouses are proposed or new transportation routes are being planned, we need to be ready. Otherwise, we're an easy target. Lastly, I think we need to ask how much we love our town and if we are really ready and willing to work to keep it as great as it is. Are we comfortable with giving us, the environmental commissioners, nothing in the way of support as we become aware of requests for change, rather than having a tool specifically designed to provide information on virtually any course of action that will impact the health and well-being of community residents? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Barbara Kohlberg. I'm at 21 Cedar Place. I have lived here for 28 years. It's my pleasure to be here tonight with all of you on the council and to address the Borough Council. Thank you for the opportunity. The master plan has a fabulous vision statement in the land use planning section, which describes our town in the near future, and I quote, "It is the year 2030, and the borough of Tinton Falls has matured into a desirable and fiscally stable municipality. The borough is reaping the benefits of sound land use decisions made earlier. The borough now has a sense of place and identity enhanced by the redevelopment of the Fort Monmouth site as a vibrant mixed-use development with commercial, residential, entertainment, and public uses in a traditional Main Street setting. Neighborhoods have been linked through an open space network. Environmentally sensitive stream corridors have been preserved. The southwest quadrant of the borough has been built out with modern, attractive industrial and office parks and manufacturing uses that have complied with the borough's performance and design standards. The borough has fully satisfied its affordable housing obligation, and market rate housing continues to appreciate. Many of the heavy industrial users have relocated to the targeted area to the south of Route 18 north of Earl. This has allowed several areas around Route 18 to be comprehensively replanned as a retail center. Wow, this vision statement has many moving parts and lots of plans for change. All of them will involve environmental concerns. I was talking to a council person in a nearby town who commented on how risky it is to have so much going on without an ERI. This Tinton Falls vision statement has components that don't necessarily work easily together. We need to make careful decisions along the way to make our vision a reality. Tinton Falls needs an ERI to be able to look ahead and make those sound land use decisions as stated in the master plan vision. Our state government recommends having an ERI instead of doing things reactively. New Jersey legislation, NJSA Law 40:55D, states it is the right and responsibility of the Environmental Commission to have research done to analyze the town's natural resources. When I look at our master plan, I don't see a lot of scientific data. I see a lot of descriptive passages about humans are currently using the land. Tinton Falls would greatly benefit from the inclusion of an ERI into the master plan. It should be noted that the New Jersey State Office of Planning and Advocacy will not certify any master plan without it having an ERI. The state is very clear on their opinion of the value of an ERI. The ERI and grant application are new adventures for us. We are very excited about it, and there are many reasons why we should do it right now, beyond the basic reason that we don't have one and we need one. Sustainable Jersey evaluated Tinton Falls to be Rookie of the Year. We are in very good standing with Sustainable Jersey, and so it's a good time to apply for a grant. We would not have been able to do this in the past. We currently have some extraordinary skills on the Environmental Commission. These people have already agreed to use their skills to help accomplish the task of creating an ERI. A GIS specialist, Tatiana Pinto-Suenda, an environmental engineer, Steve Sermon. These commitments were made with the agreement that we would hire an ERI environmental consultant who would be the lead on the work. We have been researching consultant services used by nearby towns to do their ERIs. I have personally communicated with Deborah Kratzer, who has her own business online and has done many ERIs in our area, including Ocean Township, completed in 2019, and Howell Township, completed in 2021. We are here today to openly discuss our hopes and plans with Borough Council. Our main hope is that you will align with us and support this effort to create an ERI for the health and well-being of Tinton Falls and its residents. Cost is a very important part of our conversation tonight, so we'll address that now. We would like to ask for matching funds from the Borough Council, which we expect to be $22,000. We will contract with an environmental specialist for a specific amount. We know we can do this because we've talked to EC people in other towns that stayed within their budget. We on the Environmental Commission agree with ANJAC, the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissioners, and the state of New Jersey on the importance of having an ERI for the well-being of our town. The other side of this discussion is that if we don't have an ERI, then the risk is higher of making environmentally bad decisions. Those potentially bad choices will not allow us to realize the dream of the Tinton Falls Master Plan. Many other nearby towns are getting grants and borough support and creating or updating their ERIs. For example, Eatontown Borough has an ERI which was completed in 2013. As I said, Ocean Township did theirs in 2019. Colts Neck was just awarded by Sustainable Jersey a grant, and they are in process of doing it. Howell Township completed in 2021. Long Branch completed in 2023. Little Silver completed in 2020. And that is not a comprehensive list, but that gives us an idea of what's happening around us. Many other nearby towns are getting grants if they end completing their ERIs. If they do that, they can put into place the ordinances needed to protect their towns, for example, while we don't. And then we leave ourselves open as a target for warehouse sprawl and other development that could really leave Tinton Falls as a corridor of despair. As an environmental commission member, as a member of the Tinton Falls community, we say, not on our watch. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have some questions.
Yes.
So this CRI and your commission is going to be primarily involved with the planning board and the zoning board of adjustment. I mean, will you get into areas like fossil fuel and stuff like that as well?
I'm not sure what you mean, fossil fuel and stuff like
Well,
that.
I mean, if you're talking about the environment, then it's a very controversial subject relative to what fossil fuel is doing to our environment. Are you going to get involved in stuff like that?
I think that air quality is part of the ERI.
Okay,
I
so
don't
the
think
answer
it's
is yes, you will.
targeting fossil
So the
fuels,
answer is
sir.
yes, you will, okay?
I think
Okay. Now tell me about this $22,000. What is that for?
it is to create an ERI where we have no start. We have nothing to build on.
Now, that's not grant money, that's money you're asking from the council.
We're asking for Tinton Falls to match the grant money that we hope to receive.
Oh, so,
So if we receive the $22,000 and the Tinton Falls Borough can match that, then we can hire the company that's going to be able to perform this comprehensive service that could take a year.
okay, so I understand if you receive the grant, you're asking the council to match that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
You're welcome. Council President, if I can have your permission, I have someone who couldn't make the meeting tonight, but she texted me a very short, could I read it for her? On her behalf?
What?
Yes.
Sorry?
Okay, yes.
Thanks for leaving.
You could say.
Oh, you just have to give us the person's name
I'm
and
going
address.
to. So it's Laura Smith Staines, 204 River Edge Road. Council members, I regret that I am unable to attend the meeting tonight due to a family emergency, but I wanted to offer my support for an ERI-NRI in Tinton Falls. As I'm sure the Environmental Commission explained, this is a valuable land use planning tool. Such a study will help us to identify environmentally sensitive lands for protection within our beautiful town. Further, in such an instance as the Swimming River redevelopment, where we might have a neighboring town with an interest in developing along our border, it could be used to prevent or minimize such development. Our environmental resources should guide any future development in Tinton Falls, because once they're gone, they're gone. I urge you to support this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Hi, Mitch Kohlberg, 21 Cedar Place. It was my wife speaking, so maybe this won't come across as the most impartial thing ever, but the truth is, I know she's been working on this a lot. I haven't been deeply involved in it, but I was impressed with everything they said, and it sounds like a really worthwhile endeavor. And $22,000 is not nothing, but when you consider the town of Tinton Falls and getting this kind of data, especially when you look at the fact, it sounds like the fact that other towns around us are doing it and finding it valuable, it seems like a worthwhile thing. And so I'm just going to cast my vote to support that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Jonathan Cohn, 76 Maywood Run. As you know, I've been the chairman of the Environmental Commission for the past 35 years until the last meeting when I handed the baton over to Ellen. We've been asking for one of these ERIs for a long time. We've needed it, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm about 90% sure that the $22,000 is not necessarily cash. It can be in kind. So if there's people that can do, volunteers, whatever, it comes in other forms, like other grants have been, you've had in the, for other places. Also, Mr. Manginelli, for your committee on the dump, I'm not volunteering to be a member of the committee. No, but Okay? I'm curious, you said 23,000.
Or whatever the number
Oh,
was.
okay.
That 20, whatever the number they're asking about. But I am volunteering for, if you want to pick my brain for the things that we have done over the last 35, 40 years, from meetings, many meetings with the county landfill people. Years ago, we haven't done it recently, as you well know. But we used to meet with them at least once a quarter, either here, well, actually it was the building before this building was built, or at our meetings, or we went to their meetings and had tours, and we met at the landfill. So if you have any questions on history, true history of what's going on, you know how to reach me.
I appreciate it, John, thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comment? Okay. Hearing no further comments, may I have a motion to close the public discussion?
So moved.
And may I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does any member of council have anything to add?
I do, Council President. Thank you. Two things. First, I forgot to mention during my report, I wanted to thank the Department of Public Works and Administration. The Girl Scout troop reached out wanting to create a little library in one of the public school park areas, and DPW stepping up as they have for the other little libraries in town, and it's going to be created in Sycamore Park somewhere, so they're going to coordinate with the Girl Scouts, so I thought that was great. Obviously, when it gets to be opened, we'll do a little ribbon cutting ceremony. So I want to say thank you for that, which I forgot. And then secondarily, just with regard to the ERI, NRI, I think someone mentioned some of the cost is in kind. I think that number that you guys are proposing is an approximation, because for the purposes of the grant, you need to propose a budget, right? So that can include, like they said, in kind. For example, there's a GIS specialist on the Environmental Commission. What would her services be worth, right? And that gets put into the budget, not necessarily cash that needs to be spent. So I know we don't need to do a resolution of support now, but they have shared with me some of the other completed ERIs, so you can just see factually what it is, right, in other towns. So there's no mystery about what it is. It's just, factual, and I'm sure they have many examples from the town, so I'm sure they'll be happy to provide that if any council member would like to look through those. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Before we do, I would like to ask Councilman Nessie to please read a resolution listed on our council agenda, Resolution R24-023.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, this is a resolution declaring February as Black History Month in the borough of Tinton Falls, February 2024. Whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter Goodwin Woodson, noted scholar and son of former slaves who founded the Association of the Study of African American Life and History, initiated Black History Week, February 12, 1926, which was celebrated for many years by African Americans in the United States. And whereas President Ford officially recognized Black History Month in 1976, calling upon the public to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected. And whereas since 1976, every president has adopted the month of February as Black History Month as an annual celebration of African American achievements and roles in the U.S. history. And whereas Black History Month is a time to reflect on the burdens of racial prejudice and explore, understand, and appreciate the identities and cultures across and within the African diaspora. And whereas the Borough of Tinton Falls recognizes the injustices that African Americans have endured and commends the African American community for the continuous pursuit of overcoming those injustices and changing the course and nature of history. And whereas we honor the prominent leaders and activists who have paved the way for equality and justice, calling our borough's attention to the continued need to battle racism and to build an equitable society. Therefore, be it resolved that the Borough of Tinton Falls declares February 2024 as Black History Month and honors the contributions and sacrifices made in building pride in Black history and educating all Americans, as well as many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And therefore, be it further resolved that we join other organizations throughout the state of New Jersey and this country to use this occasion to raise awareness of hardships African Americans have endured, celebrate the milestones that have been achieved, and continue the unrelenting pursuit of equality and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Nessie. We will now continue with the consent agenda. Are there any items any member of council would like removed to be voted on separately? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes. This concludes today's business. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. This meeting is now adjourned. Time 8:22.